Hello, and welcome to Trauma Free Relationship. If you've listened in before, welcome back. I'm so thankful that you're here, and I hope you find valuable information that can support your life and your relationships. Just as a way of a reminder, if you like what you hear, be sure to click and follow me on your favorite streaming services, wherever it is that you might be listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. Also, feel free to reach out and provide some feedback. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about these particular episodes, how they're impacting your life, what you might want to hear more of. So, with that being said, let's launch into our discussion today. I thought we would break some things down and get to sort of a granular level, and not try to pull back to a 5 or 10,000 foot view of things. And so I've titled this For a Healthy Relationship, Do This, Don't Do That. I don't think you're going to hear anything groundbreaking today. I don't think anything is going to just sort of light up your world or your relationships so there's some sort of paradigm shift happening. But I think these are good reminders. And sometimes just putting them in columns of yes, do this, and no, don't do that can be a good reminder. So I've just made a list here of things that, as I'm working with couples on a daily basis, I think is important for them to be reminded of, hey, do this, but don't do that, in order to have a more healthy relationship. So without further ado, let's get started.
Welcome to Trauma Free Relationship, a podcast that provides support and guidance to help heal the wounds of attachment trauma. Whether you find yourself struggling with unresolved issues in the past or have experienced trauma in your current relationship, our goal is to provide accurate, scientifically informed information as well as the tools to help you create a secure connection between you and your partner. And here's your host, Tom Philp.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what to do and what not to do. And as I said in the opening, this isn't going to be groundbreaking today, but I think it serves as a good reminder, especially a few of them on here. If you've been with your partner for any length of time, it is easy to fall into some of these traps. It is easy to fall back and not be as mindful or thoughtful about what's happening in your relationship and how you and your partner are actually interacting with each other on a daily basis. And so some of these, I think, are just a good reminder. So let's get started. The first one, communicate openly, honestly, and non-defensively. We want to do that. We want to be able to communicate with our partner in a way where we can be open, honest, and non-defensive. And that means if our partner is communicating to us, we don't want to put up our walls immediately. We don't want to get defensive and have a tone right away, but rather we want to try to stay open. And when we're communicating to them, we want to communicate as open and honestly as possible. Now, that doesn't mean we do it in a mean way, and it doesn't mean that we do it with a tone of voice that's going to trigger their defensiveness. So we want to be able to have enough safety in the relationship so that we are able to communicate in hopefully an open and an honest and non-defensive way. What don't we want to do? We don't want to bottle up our feelings. We don't want to criticize, blame, or attack. Nothing's going to put up your partner's walls quicker than if they feel like they're being blamed or attacked for something or criticized. And if oftentimes we bottle up our feelings, what ends up happening is it comes out sometimes at inappropriate times, but also more, it comes out with all this energy because we've been holding on to it and we've been biting our tongue and we've been not wanting to say this for a long time. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just comes out. And so bottling up our feelings is not an effective way to communicate with our partner. Certainly, we don't want to criticize, blame, or attack. So we want to communicate openly, honestly, and non-defensively. We don't want to bottle up our feelings, criticize, blame, or attack. How do we do that? Well, a lot of the way we do that is we stay as close to our experience of the relationship as possible. So when we're communicating openly, honestly, and non-defensively, we don't really want to talk about what our partner's doing or not doing. We want to talk about the impact it's having on us, the impact we feel it's having on the relationship. So that looks a lot like I think, I want, I need, and I feel. Notice all the I statements in there. Now, this is sort of a overused communication device. Oh, use I statements, not you statements. And that's true. We don't want to say you, because that feels like an attack. We do want to say more I's, but more specifically, we want to stay as close to our experience of what's happening and stay within our experience and not try to guess what our partner's motivations are, not try to guess what their feelings are. We want them to be able to hear how we're being impacted by what's happening in the relationship. So that's part of how we communicate more openly, honestly, and non-defensively. Okay, number 2, do this. Show appreciation. Don't do this. Take each other for granted. Now, again, that there's no light bulb moment here for anybody. We know that we need to show our partner appreciation, but how easy is it to slip into patterns of behavior or slip into just the day-to-day going to work, coming home, raising the kids, all the kinds of things that we can get caught up in where we forget to show our partner appreciation. And I think it's important to say that if you're like me, if you're like at least the vast majority of the couples that I see, you and your partner have different roles in your relationship and in your family. One is not better or more important than the other. So if you fall into more of a traditional role where maybe one partner is the primary breadwinner, the other partner takes care of the house and the kids, if that's applicable, then one role is not better than the other. But what you've decided to do is divide and conquer for the betterment of the family as a whole. So keep that in mind. When we show appreciation, remember that your partner is working for the same greater good you are. Yes, you might be providing the financial means to live the lifestyle you live, but if you've agreed to have children and you have kids in this world, guess what? It takes a real effort and concentration to raise children. So your partner is doing their part. Now, maybe you don't have a traditional role like that. Maybe you both work. And if that's the case, then recognize that just because you might make more than the other partner doesn't put you up in a higher chain of command, so to speak, than your partner does. You're both working hard for the family. And I really think it's often the little things that we can express, the little moments where we can say, thank you for working so hard for our family. Thank you for doing so much to take care of us. Thank you for cleaning the house, taking care of the kids on nights that I work late, or covering me when I have to go out of town at the last minute. I know that creates a hardship for you. Or thank you for supplementing our income while you're still always doing all these other things to care for the family and to care for the children. Sometimes just that little words of appreciation can go a long way when we're talking to our partner. Maybe it's bringing home the occasional gift if that's your partner's love language. Maybe it's taking them to a hotel for a night and just showering them with your attention away from the busyness of life, away from the kids, or away from the hectic schedules as a way to show your appreciation. And it doesn't have to be something you spend money on. It could just be, it's a gorgeous day. Let's go for a walk. Let's spend some time together. I just want to love on you a little bit and let you know how much I appreciate that you're doing for us. And so we want to show appreciation. Oftentimes, they don't need to be grand gestures. The little things go a long way. We don't want to take each other for granted. Okay, number 3, maintain physical and sexual intimacy. That's what we want to do. What we don't want to do is stop physical touch and stop having sex. We are We are creatures that need and thrive on physical touch, appropriate physical touch, I want to add, consenting physical touch. But we are people that thrive on that. We have these skin cells that need to be touched, especially by our attachment partner. Studies have shown that when our attachment partner holds our hand, touches us on the shoulder, caresses our hair, it literally is a soothing or balming effect on our central nervous system. It literally goes and relaxes our body. So maintain physical touch and don't be afraid to separate out those two. We can have physical touch. We can have physical touch even in the bedroom without necessarily having sexual intercourse. And we can have physical touch certainly outside the bedroom, holding hands, putting your arm around your partner, sitting next to each other with a hand on the leg on the couch, caressing their hair on a drive. Anything like that, letting your partner know that you are there with them. And there's nothing that speaks more, I think, sometimes than being able to touch your partner, and it sort of conveys what 1,000 words cannot. And so we want to maintain physical touch and, of course, sexual intimacy as well. But that physical touch is really important. And I notice that oftentimes when couples get caught in trauma cycles that last a long time, one of the first things that dissipates is any sense of physical touch. They start sitting further apart on the couch. They start having more arguments than they do reaching out for one another. And so being able to maintain that physical touch is just really important. Okay, number 4, be willing to compromise. That's what we want to do. What we don't want to do is be rigid and inflexible. And I see this a lot in couples, especially as I've mentioned before, when they get caught in trauma cycles, it's really difficult for couples to be able to see each other's perspectives. And so what ends up happening is neither partner feels heard or understood. So they sort of dig in their feet. They might be heated in the moment, but they dig in their feet. They sort of entrench them even further in the cement or the mud, almost as if to say, okay, this is my position. I'm not moving from this until I feel understood. The problem is the partner's doing the same thing. So you have both partners that are encased in cement or drowning in a pit without reaching out to help one another because both partners so desperately need to feel understood. So being willing to compromise versus being rigid and flexible. As partners, one of the things we really want to know is, do I have influence over my partner? Am I able to have an impact on their thinking and their feelings? If they see something a certain way and I'm able to come in and look at it differently, does that impact the way they see things? Can they say, oh, that's a good idea, or oh, I like that solution better, or oh yeah, you're right, that's a good thought? Because little things like that can go a long way to feeling appreciated and to feeling like an equal in the relationship. I have counseled couples before where one person acts like the parent and the other person acts like the child. And it's almost as if anything the child comes up with, the adult is going to shoot down in almost a condescending way because, well, you don't have the right perspective, or, oh, you're not seeing this the right way, or you don't have the right information I do. When you create a hierarchy like that in your relationship, it doesn't take long for that to begin to deteriorate and sometimes completely dissolve the relationship itself, because we need to feel like we're equals to our partner. We don't want to feel like we're married to our mom or our dad. One of the ways we do that is to compromise and to be flexible in our approach to our partner. Okay, number 5, and you've heard me say this lots before, so this shouldn't be a surprise if you've listened to this podcast at all. Use lots of empathy and validation. Really, really important here to use lots of empathy and validation. It is like oxygen to your relationship. And I cannot understate how important it is. As a matter of fact, feeling appreciated, being willing to compromise, communicating openly and non defensively, I would say the foundation of all those is the ability to be able to put yourself in your partner's shoes, to see the situation through your partner's eyes, and to be able to communicate to your partner that you understand their experience of what's happening, that you understand their experience of the situation. That is like a huge burst of oxygen in their lungs. And when they have somebody that matters to them as much as their attachment partner does, then it's as if they can breathe much more deeply. It's like they take in a big breath of oxygen and it fills their lungs and they go, "Oh, I feel understood. This feels incredible." And I rarely meet couples where one partner has to be right all the time. That would actually go towards the one I just mentioned, the being willing to compromise. That's pretty rare, but I meet couples every day, all day long, and including experience it in my own relationship, that all couples want to be heard and understood. And so if we're not using enough empathy and validation, then it is like sucking the oxygen out of the relationship. And again, empathy is being able to understand your partner's perspective. It doesn't mean your own perspective isn't valid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have a right to feel your own perspective. It just means that you can see their perspective as well. Validation is a form of communication where you let your partner know that you understand their perspective. So they're a little bit different, but they're two sides of the same coin that are absolutely essential in healthy relationships. Okay, number 6, balance closeness and individuality is what we want to do. We want to be able to honor and hold space for our partner's need for individuality, for the expression of their individuality, for the way they do things. I see a lot of couples that they get into arguments over chores because one partner wants the chore done a certain way and the other partner wants the ability to be able to do it their own way. And so they get into these knockdown, drag out fights sometimes because one partner's going, "No, I don't want you to do it that way. You need to do it like this." And the other partner's saying, "Hey, wait a minute. If I'm going to help you do the chores, I need to be able to do it my own way. Otherwise, this feels suffocating. This feels controlling, telling me how to do the chores." So we have to be able to respect our partner's need for autonomy, for individuality, and to be able to respect their need for closeness. When our partner reaches out, even if it's just to convey some information, let's say they're just telling us about this kid's schedule that evening, because you are attached as partners, because you are building a life together, because literally your central nervous systems are wrapped around one another when you've been together long enough, they are not just conveying facts to you. They are also turning towards you for a sense of connection. And being able to hear that and receive it for what it is really, really important. I don't care if they're calling you and talking about the broken water heater at home or 1,000 other things that need to be fixed around the house, or if they're just talking to you about a bad day they've had at the office. They are talking to you as a sense of connection. Even though it's wrapped up in a lot of facts that may have nothing to do about the relationship, they're needing somebody to be able to hear that and empathize with that and validate that as a sense of connection. So being able to understand the turning towards each other for a sense of closeness, but also the respect for a sense of individuality is really important, and being able to balance those things out in a healthy relationship. All right, the last one I threw on here because I think it's not talked about a lot in our relationships, but it's one of these things that kind of can creep in without us even recognizing it. And so the last one of things we want to do is to be able to accept things that you cannot change about your partner. Your partner has a personality that's not likely to change ever. And so with that comes along certain quirks and picadillos and certain things that might rub you the wrong way. Being able to accept those things as part of who they are is also being able to accept aspects of yourself that aren't perfect either. Being able to accept your partner's little quirks, little foibles, little faults means that you also have the right to have your partner accept those same things about you. Now, they might look different, they might show up different in the relationship, but trust me, um, uh, your little foibles are just as irritating to them as they are to you. And so we need to be able to accept things that we cannot change about our partner. That's what we want to do. What we don't want to do is expect your partner to change who they are, because they're not going to. Even if they are desperate to hold on to you and you are about ready to walk out the door, they may make promises to you that they can't possibly keep. I'll change. I'll be a different person. No, you won't. And that's okay. I want you to find somebody that can love you for who you are, not change everything about yourself. Now, that doesn't mean, with all this being said, that we can't continue to work on ourselves. We can't continue to grow. We can't continue to change certain behaviors, and we can continue to change even some feelings about our partner. But just keep in mind that we're not going to change fundamentally who we are. And that's actually a very good thing in our relationship. I hope you found this helpful today as we just kind of went through a list of things that we want to do and things that we don't want to do. Again, I don't think any of this is groundbreaking, but I do think it's important reminders. So just take this with you over the next week. You can ponder on that. Try to implement one or two things in your relationship and then monitor the progress. See, hey, when I was giving feedback to my partner and telling them how much I appreciate them, did I get some of that back myself? Did that feel really good? Did I notice we felt a little bit closer? Hey, I reached out this week and I started touching my partner a little bit more in a non-sexual way, and I've noticed that I'm getting a better response back. Hopefully you find these little things can make a big difference in your relationship. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to Trauma-Free Relationship, a podcast for the healing of attachment trauma. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at traumafreerelationship.com. Be sure to look for our next episode on your favorite streaming service.